He's like, you can't do this. You can't. I'm like, I am the, this is my department. Says, no, you can't. It doesn't work like this here. But almost teary, an old man, almost teary to say, you can't do that. It doesn't happen like this here. And to me, it sounded like, why is this guy so protective of the environment? But on hindsight, that was a warning that you don't know what you don't know.
Wow.
So when I joined, we spoke, and I had said, this is a transitionary role for me, because I had been an HR director. I'm moving into this role. Obviously, I'm on a path, to another bigger HR director role. And then I was asked, so how long are you giving us? And I said 3 years. So it was an easier one for me. I didn't want to get to the details that I'm leaving because of what. Yes. I just said, we contracted on 3 years. Now it's 3 years. I'm leaving. If it's getting to, to affect your life, no job is worth your life.
Wow. No, that's so powerful.
Don't die there.
That's so powerful. It is with a sense of gratitude that I come to you today. Because of you, we were able to reach a milestone of 500 subscribers. And to somebody, that might be a small feat. But for us, touching one soul at a time, through you subscribing to this channel, assist us to spread the knowledge and to empower someone out there. Please continue to be subscribed. Call your nephew, call your cousin, call your mother, call your friend, and encourage them to subscribe so that we can grow a community of leaders and a community of dreamers who are going to change their situation, but also the situations of those that are around them. Let's get into the topic of today. And I would like to introduce it this way. Most of us, when we look for jobs or when we join organizations, we look at the value system of an organization. Because when that resonates with us, it is then that we take a decision to join the organization because we believe that we will belong in those places. We look up to leaders to carry the flag and ensure that we enjoy the places where we're supposed to work. But sometimes it is not a straight line like that. We come across challenges. And my guest today is going to help us unpack the subject of corporate bullying, share her story as well, so that you can craft your own journey out of her story. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. Long time. I don't know when was the last time and just catching up. How has life been treating you?
Well, it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been, I think the last time we met was in 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Those were the COVID days. So myself and Mabore Sithole, and she's going to tell us who she is. As I always say, we are not reading people's obituaries here. They are here to tell their stories. We met working for one of the petroleum companies. The common thing about you and I is being in the human resource field, but most importantly, working on influencing the culture and impacting leaders. And we'll speak about that. But before we get into you, there's something that I liked about your profile. And also that this month, we celebrate what women did in 1959. We should be grateful to those 20,000 women from all walks of life, from all races, by changing the face of this country for us to be where we are today. So I don't want to introduce you, but this I want to read out of your profile. You say, my moonshot is to develop 1 million leaders that can proactively respond to the changing world by 2025. It's very close. Women are definitely a great part of that million. While a lot has been done to advance women, more still needs to be done in Africa to accelerate the development of women. It is for that reason that I exist. That's so powerful because it defines your personal mission statement.
Mm.
And maybe before we get into that, and you will probably help us to extend on this about yourself. Mabore Sithole ke mang?
So, okay. Ke kgadi ya dikolobe. So, ke nna Mabore, my maiden name ke Thosao.
Okay.
I am from Limpopo, Kolobakgomo, but grew up in a small farming town of Mabore. My parents were teachers there. Yeah, and I'm a mother of 4, and I'm married to Sithole. So somehow there's a fusion there of the Pedi and the Zulu culture.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a combination of the two. Of course, because I'm raising Zulu kids, so I have to also be part of,
Yes.
So embracing that. So I'm a leader, but I think more than that, I'm a gender enthusiast and activist.
Wow.
And I'm passionate about the development of people, especially leaders.
Wow.
And I think recently one of my I think I can't say it's passion, but it's an enabler. It's in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space.
Great. Now you say you were born to parents who were teachers. How was it being raised by teachers? I was raised by a priest, and I remember the pressure that was put on me. So my question is twofold. How was it being raised by teachers? How did that influence who you are? The second part of the question is they were developing other people. Would the interest and passion to develop others being influenced by you being raised by teachers? Or how did it come about?
What an interesting question. So, but maybe let's start by how was it to be raised by teachers?
Yes.
Number one, especially in a small township, the pressure is so huge. You can't be a teacher's child and then you are lagging behind.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think for me that was a bit of a pressure. My father was the school principal and my mom was a teacher in the same school where we went to. So, and in those days, discipline was a big thing. So we grew under a very stringent, disciplined environment. Quite loving, but very disciplined. You were expected to achieve. I always say that part of the reason why I excelled in school, my dad, because of the pressure of work, he'd come home, be busy with if you want his attention, you must come tell him about something great you did at school.
Wow.
Well, it's got its own downside, but the upside is that, it almost forced you, to look out for what can I do? What more can I do about myself? As a result, I remember when I was I know that you call it grade monk these days, grade 7.
-2. It's standard 5 plus.
Standard 5. And when I was going to high school, well, I was going to a boarding school. But I wrote letters, I applied, those applications, I did them myself.
Wow.
Because I was always looking at how can I push myself, and I guess it's the environment that was also forcing me to push myself. As for the influence, it's a very interesting one because I've always wanted to believe they didn't, but the truth of the matter is they did.
Okay.
So when I finished matric, initially in my career, I wanted to do law. And my uncle, who was my father's younger brother, was, supporting me. And my parents at the time were saying, no, law is for terrorists, in those days when we were growing up. So my uncle, who was supporting me in this journey, when I was in matric, passed away. So my whole plan really crumbled.
Wow.
So when I finished matric, my parents said, look at your results and go and do, what you passed well in matric. So I ended up enrolling for a BA degree.
Okay.
A plain BA. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then they were saying, no, you better do teaching. And my mom was like, teaching is the best profession for a woman. Because remember in those days, they used to knock off at 2.
Yeah.
You know, it says
then you've got time for family.
And stuff like that. And I said, no, I don't want to be a teacher. But guess what? I may not have been a teacher in that shape and form, but I am in the teaching space.
Exactly.
I call myself a global teacher. Yeah. So I absorb knowledge and I transfer it. So yeah, I think they did influence.
So the drive for achievement that you took from your parents, the example that you made about your father checking stuff, did you find yourself doing that to your children at a later stage in life?
I think it's just but natural. It's just that we are raising very different kids now, and maybe we are a bit enlightened to understand that the generations are completely different. But yes, there is some element of wanting them to have that drive. And they do, but it's not what I want, to be honest. It's not how I want it. But they have their own drive. I mean, my youngest one is 12. He's a gamer. He does gaming tournaments online.
Okay.
But yeah, is it something that I thought?
Yeah.
But for today's world, it is. So my other son also is a self-taught visual artist. My other son developed games, online, games, and that's what they want to do. So it's completely different from what I would consider.
And would you say you and your husband have appreciated and encouraging them in that direction? Because the essence of my question is sometimes parents want to live their missed dreams through their children, or they project their fears on children to say, what is this visual art thing, Because I remember my uncle said at one stage, like you sound engineering, and the long story short, he did not do it, but I could see the results of him moving away from his passion. So it is in that context, because probably somebody's listening as a parent, and they might have a takeaway out of, it's your view, but it might impact somebody.
Well, look, we allow them to be.
Yeah.
Because they are very different people. So me and my husband supports them. My husband, I think, supports them more, than me.
Okay.
How is that? Remember, these are, for example, the gaming tournaments are international tournaments. They happen at 3 a.m. And this is a 12-year-old. While the elder brother takes the lead in terms of making sure he's awake, he's ready. But my husband will also wake up and be there while he's playing. And
tomorrow he's going to school sometimes?
Sometimes, yes.
Wow. But that's the versatility again, agility that kids need to go through at some point. Wow, that's great. Maybe before you mentioned you studying a BA, Bachelor of Arts, and we'll come to that and then go into your profession. But the community that you grow within, how did it impact the person that you are today?
Sure, very interesting. So I grew up killing one principal.
Yeah.
And that on its own had its own pressure.
Yeah.
So you have to be perfect. You have to be seen to be achieving. So even as you grow up, how you behave in the community. And one other thing that when I look back, it's always been an interest of mine. I've always liked to sell. And it was almost like a contradiction. Because at some point, my mom used to sell Tupperware.
Wow.
I would pack Tupperware on a Saturday and move from house to house selling.
Yeah.
Somehow, I've always liked to sell.
And I hope when you went for your first interview, you'll take us through this journey. Your first job, you were able to say, hey, I've got experience. I used to sell. The reason I'm saying that, because some of the graduates, when they get into corporate, they say we don't have experience,
Yeah.
but you find that they were waitresses, they were waiters.
Exactly.
And that experience teaches team collaboration, communication, conflict resolution, all those things. Very, very
Influencing
important.
skills, yeah.
Yeah. So they shouldn't take them lightly. I hope somebody will take it away with and not be shy to say, I worked in this restaurant, because that experience is quite valuable.
Definitely.
And probably you saw, or you were able to bring those skills later in life, and we'll talk about it. Take us to your MBA studies, and how did you land into the human resource profession and corporate by extension?
Yeah. So I finished my BA, and then I did a few certificates. I've always, had an inquisitive mind. I remember when I was at varsity, I also did a PR certificate.
Okay.
So
that is public relations.
Public relations. Okay. And I think that's where the love for writing and speaking, came from, because there was a lot of that as well. And when I finished my qualification, I then got my first job. I always like to say to people, my first job was, for 6 weeks, I was a secretary. My very first job. Yeah.
With your MBA?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with your BA?
My BA, yes.
Yes.
It was my, and it was, and I think the nice thing about it, before I don't want to divert, but the nice thing about it is I still have a relationship with the person that I was a secretary for. And he's a very high profile person today.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was almost like a landing zone.
Yes.
So from there, I then got a job as a training officer in Mpumalanga province. That's how my career started.
Okay.
And I did that, I think, for 3 years. And then someone, in a conversation we were chatting, they said, so tell me about your qualification. And, they said, but you have a qualification, but you don't have a profession. And I said, what do you mean? I said, yeah, you have a BA degree, but what profession are you in?
Wow.
And at the time, I was a training officer, it was a provincial training department, so we would go out and train employees in the province. So that led me to doing my honors in HRD.
Wow.
With UJ.
Yes, now getting a profession.
Now I'm getting a profession. So it was eye-opening for me to say, you can have a qualification but not have a profession. So then I did the honors, and then I moved from the province, and I came to, from Mpumalanga, I came to work for the National Department of Public Works in Pretoria. I did that for a while, and then I moved again, now in my profession, in the learning and development space. And I think that's where I really anchored my profession. Yeah. That's why, even today, I'm still in that space. I then went to the city of Johannesburg. I was a skills development facilitator at the city of Johannesburg for about 2 to 3 years. And then after that, I moved out. I worked for an SOE, which was an IT state-owned agency at the time. And then after that, that's when I came to the petroleum company that we both worked at. As in the learning and development and talent management space. So I then grew in there, but then I diverted and went into generalist HR because I've always been ambitious and wanting more.
Wow. I can't leave this. I have to go back to it. Qualification, you have a qualification but no profession. And for me, it's important in a sense that, as we always say here, it's about empowerment and knowledge sharing. I think sometimes, especially the Black folk, I don't know how things have changed that much, but I remember just talking to my daughter a few years back. She had a struggle of what to study. And the reason why for me this is important is because in most cases, the Black children end up doing courses, to be off the streets, but just to have something,
You need a paper.
You need a paper, And what I'm taking out of you is the whole issue of listening. Because somebody said to you, you need to get a profession. You had a choice to listen or to ignore what they were saying because you were already working. You know?
But I have a degree.
You see, you might have already spoken to it, but the point that I'm trying to get to is, what would you advise a person that finds themselves now only having a paper because they just wanted to have something, you know, beyond matric? If they are concerned about their age, they're concerned about the time it might take to pivot, what would your general advice be?
Well, I believe that you are the master of your own destiny.
Yeah.
So let's say you've got a qualification and you want to do, you know, something, it might be the same profession or even a different profession.
Yeah.
I mean, you have an opportunity. In this day and age, you can, you know, acquire that profession through a qualification, but you don't have to leave your job. You know, you can identify the profession that you want, and then you register for a qualification in that profession. That's the first one. The second one is, you know, we've got professional bodies in this day and age. So if you want to be in HR, you can go to SABPP and register and be a student member, or IPM and be a student member, just so that you can get your foot into that profession. Now at IPM, they won't say, if you don't have an HR qualification, you can't join. They won't say that. So you can come with a BSc
and still join. And what she's talking about is the Institute of Personal People Management. No, that's great what you are saying. Now you find yourself in the human resource space, as you said. You started working with leaders. When you started working with leaders, and as you continue working with leaders, what is your understanding of what leaders should be doing in organizations? I mean, your profile talks about changing the face of leadership by 2025. What is it that, in your view, you think leaders should be doing in organizations?
Well, I think the simplest explanation is, if you are a leader, you're supposed to be achieving results through other people.
Correct, yes.
And for you to achieve results through other people, there are a few things you need to do. You need to guide them, so you need to provide direction. You need to keep the motivation, so influence. You need to have a plan, help them plan. So, and I mean, there's a number of theories around that. But the simple way is that you need to provide direction. You need to keep them motivated to achieve the results. But there must be a plan. People must know this is where we are going.
And I like that. But there is also another person. I spoke about values when we started this conversation, that leaders are the ones responsible to entrench, promote, and ensure that they educate employees about the values, so that they can also inspire, motivate. But there's this other person who decides to say, you know what, I am going to frequently cause pain in this organization. And we sometimes call them corporate bullies, okay? And I believe you've got a story in that regard. Would you walk us through that story? Just share with us your experience going through the opposite of what you have explained. Because if somebody does not inspire, they do not motivate, probably they do the total opposite. And you might feel that, you know what, on next day, if it's a Monday, I don't want to be at that place.
Sure. So the story around, the corporate bullying, I think the most interesting thing about it in my life is that it happened at the pinnacle of my career. After I have gone through many levels, where I thought I got this, from a content and leadership, and I could run an organization as an executive. I thought, and I think for a while that's where it almost messed me up, because I was second guessing myself, because I was like, but at this level, how can I allow myself, to be in this situation? So, and I mean, there's a number of bullies, ne? There are different types of
Yeah,
bullies,
yeah.
and I think theory says there's 5, but I think there's more.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So I think the bully that I came across was an aggressive bully. You know, shouting, putting you down all the time. So constant. To me, it was 3 years, and in that 3 years, it felt like I'm a project. It's like a person
Of this
waking
person.
up and saying, "What am I gonna do to her today?"
Wow.
Now, naturally, we know. I mean, I don't think it's possible, but for some odd reason, that was the situation that I'm in. You know, it started with small things. Like, because you know how we were trained, you know, from an HR point of view in the company we work.
Yeah.
I always tell people at the time that was the University of HR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
and I still believe it. I don't know now what they do, but yeah.
So I got there, I joined the organization. But the interesting thing is, signs were there even before I joined. And I was you know, quite old. I mean, I was about 40 years already. I should have seen the signs.
Yes.
I saw them. I said, "Oh, this is not normal." But even the interviewing process, it was, you know.
If you were to unpack those signs, you mentioned shouting, probably that's now when you were in. But at the interview, those signs, what were they?
The first thing is, I was not even interviewed by the line manager. The panel, when I got there, it was the juniors and a few peers, or 1 or 2 peers.
Okay.
To me, it was like, okay. So already it's putting you down. Don't come here and thinking you are something special.
Yeah.
So I met the line manager for 5 minutes after that, recommended by this panel of junior employees, employees that were going to report to me. So that should have been the first sign that something is not right.
Wow.
And then the second one is I joined the organization. It was in the festive season, so people were going on leave.
Yeah.
So I was there for 2 weeks, never met my line manager. They went on leave. They came back in January, never met the line manager. So then you're thinking, okay, you know, it's almost...
I'm gobsmacked. Wow.
So you know, as a leader, you kind of, I've been a month here, I don't even have a plan. What am I doing?
No, but wait. The leader is going to holiday or vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. My expectation, or in my head, it would be something like, give a call. You are senior already. Give you a call. You even have a coffee 5 minutes before she leaves, or even drop you a welcome note. Are you saying those things did not even happen? Okay.
No, it didn't. So I was left there, like, and that is a sign of bullying.
Yeah.
I was left not knowing, am I welcome? Am I not welcome? What do I do? But because I have led an HR department before, I then decided, let me take this bull by its horn, you know. Took my team, go on a straight plan, come up with a plan. But
without her approval?
Without her guidance, because I mean, I was running my own department. I didn't need approval per se. But the truth of the matter is, there must be some guidance to say, these are the expectations. This is what we are expecting from you in the next 12 months, something like that.
Yes.
So I went there, came up with a plan. Then I was twinkling my fingers with the plan, because now I needed to go present the plan, but the opportunity had not presented itself. Wow. So those were the signs, and those signs were glaring. Yeah, I just did not pay attention to the signs.
But now at that point, as you say, you did not pay attention. The other peers, now you've got your team, but you've got peers as well. Did you pick at that time that they are more or less going through the same, or at that point you are new and then you haven't as yet realized what is happening with other team members?
Look, the only thing I picked up is that when you try to engage and speak, No one wants to talk about anything.
Okay.
So it was a fear-led environment. So when I'm trying to ask guys, when do you have your meetings? What happens? Everybody was like, I don't know. So it was like a fear-led. But I remember at the strat plan with my team now. So they presented something, and because I'm the leader of the department, so I went and said, no, guys, we're not going to be doing this. I'd like us to put this aside, and I'm going to guide you in terms of. So one of my subordinates called me outside, almost teary. I think teary because very fearful to say, what are we going to do now? And does this woman know what she's doing?
The woman meaning
me.
your... Okay.
Do you really know what you do? Do you know what you're dealing with? So he called me. I was like, no.
Oh, who are you dealing with? Wow.
He's like, you can't do this. You can't. I'm like, I am this is my department. Says, no, you can't. It doesn't work like this here. But almost teary, an old man, almost teary to say, you can't do that. It doesn't happen like this here. And to me, it sounded like, why is this guy so protective of the environment? But on hindsight, that was a warning that you don't know what you don't know.
Wow. Now, this happens. She's back now.
She's back.
What is the first meeting like now that she's back?
It was in February. Now, remember
we joined in December. Okay.
So my first meeting with my line manager was now in late February.
Wait, I'm trying to digest and understand this. I guess somebody comes from leave. Probably she comes back January, okay? You meet on corridors. Do you meet with the rest of the team? And it's just hi. And then the first official meeting happens in February.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
That's why I'm saying, for me, those were the warning signs.
Wow.
And I think for me, the role had been vacant for almost a year. So naturally, you'd expect that there's a lot of work.
Yes.
There's pressure. So as you land, they say, now, take this, run with this, because, there's a backlog.
Yeah.
So in Feb, we meet. I go there, I've got my plan, how we were taught. 5 strategic focus areas, and this is what. And already these are not really guided, but based on the information that I was able to pick up. And then I got there, obviously it's the first meeting. I don't know what to expect, but I'm prepared. And the first comment was, okay, of course, greetings, and how are you finding? How did you, because I was here for the whole, the duration of the festive season. And then it was very weird. I'm not even sure if I should share that. But the first question was, how is your relationship with Tex, for example, one of the team members?
Okay.
And I'm like, a relationship?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I don't have a relationship with anyone. I'm new.
Yeah.
But I mean,
why pick this one individual out of the rest of the team?
So, and then I had to navigate that conversation, but already I was now, what is happening here? And then I was told, in no uncertain term, it is important for me that you have a relationship with this person. Now, it's not for me that was, and why I'm saying it, it's not the person per se. It's that the first conversation, the first formal conversation I have with my land manager, I'm being asked about, how do you get along with so and so? And if you don't get along with them, please make sure you get along with them. I was so lost.
So up to that point, you were only receiving, if you like, the passive aggression, because she's not talking to you, she's on leave. And then for the first time, things seems to start to be active now. Say, don't talk to this person. And then how did that conversation end?
No, I said, no problem. What do you say? I said, no, it's good. I'll get along with them.
Yeah. What is the body language? What is the non-verbal cues from her as she say these things?
Nothing really significant, though, if I can remember from a body language point of view, but very relaxed. And I'm going there expecting we're going to talk about work. And they say, oh, I hear that you're already, you're already having meetings and strategy sessions, and then, and then that's how I...
Not approving that you having these sessions, the way she says it, or how did you...
It's like...
Well, it gets it away,
yeah, already you are running,
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, then I took out my strategy session, and I'm like, so this is what we have, and then the comment I got was, so to come up with all these new things.
No.
That was my first meeting.
So you wasted your time. We didn't need these 5 points of yours.
Yeah, because you hadn't had time with your line manager.
Do you think from maybe in hindsight, because they say that's the best science, the fact that she was not there in the initial interview, she only gave you 5 minutes and then she left. Do you think it has got to deal with the person that she is? Or it's a question of, I did not want this lady, if she knew about it, I don't know, but you were foisted on her to say, thou shalt appoint. Or because we have to make sense as individuals. At some point, you have to feel and rationalize as to, but why are these things happening? So in simpler terms, what I'm asking is, what was your rationalization why these things were happening?
I don't know. I don't think it was personal because of me. Yeah, but I think it's the leadership style, it's the personality of the person. And then maybe I aggravated it by being proactive and coming through as if I know, And yet I was, saying, how do I come here and be here for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and I have nothing to show for it at this level?
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think it's like, Mabore, I don't want Mabore. No, I think it was just the person.
Okay. Yeah. And I asked it, but let's go back to it now. Your time now goes.
Yeah.
You start realizing how your peers are treated. Was it the same? And are there certain examples you can say how they were treated? And the reason I'm asking is to establish the common themes, if they were there, were there some common threads that were running across the team?
Sure. So the team had been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And they got accustomed to the way things are done there. So it was
no, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I was struggling with the fact that I can't get used to it. And I think the biggest things that bullies do, they want to dominate you. They must press your head down. So if you refuse with your head, then that's where conflict happens.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened in my case. Because I still wanted to be the head of that department. I still wanted to do meaningful work over and above some of the work. And some of the work I'm given, I'm thinking, but this can be done by a junior person. So I still wanted to make the department what I thought.
Okay. So in simpler terms, without being academic about it, and you have given us examples, to be honest, somebody can go back and define for themselves what corporate bullying is. So my question to you is, in simpler terms, how did you come to define for yourself that this is corporate bullying? And secondly, what was that experience that broke the camel's back to say, no, this is not it? Because you spoke about 3 years. It's a long time.
It's a long time of constant pain. But the truth of the matter is, you start, for me, I started losing confidence.
Okay.
That was the first sign. And I started whining and moaning a lot.
To others.
Yeah, to my partner at home, just to being an unhappy person. But I think what broke the camel's back really was when it started affecting me, my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be a drop in my mood. My mood would just drop.
Mm.
And I remember it was 2019, the holidays of 2019. We went on a holiday with families, and I was alone in the bathroom, and I couldn't wait to come back and go and find a psychologist. Because it's holidays, it's fun, everybody, but my mood just drops. I don't want to be around people. I feel like I can be alone. And the people that suffers the most, to be honest, is the spouses.
Yes.
Yeah, because as you walk in, they already look at you in your face to say, what's the mood today?
Yes.
So my whole environment, work environment, now I transfer it into my home.
Yes.
And the kids also know when to come, when not to come, because the mood is just,
workplace is hell because of this one
you
person.
come back, you are butchered. I don't know how to explain it, but you'll be so butchered. And I don't know what it is with HR executives. I speak a lot with other colleagues in this space. These people get butchered. So, what broke the camel's back really was the impact it had on my mental health.
Because one of the things that I know bullies do, as we said, either they are very active or they now come in passive ways, and the other way they recruit others in a way of maybe shaming you in front of others, wanting others to laugh at you and stuff. Did you find yourself in that situation? Secondly, did you find yourself in instances where information was withheld from you and not being told pertinent stuff that is going to assist you to execute your role?
So not really information being withheld, but the recruiting. So I had subordinates who had been there for many years, who used to report to the person, the line manager. So they had more allegiance. So I found that I may be giving instruction, but there's other instructions that have been given somewhere else.
No.
So you are leading a team, but you're actually not leading this team.
Yes.
So that was the first thing. Sabotage by the team. I would work day and night because, I'd have a piece of work that I need to submit and ask, the team to submit. By the time I try to, prepare and look at this work, it's work of such poor quality that I have to redo the work. And to a point where I started seeing, but this is sabotage. But then because, I wouldn't want to go and present work of poor quality, I'd redo the work text. I'd stay until 3 a.m.
Wow.
Many nights. And my husband used to stay with me. He'd sleep on the couch because I'd say, if I go, to the room, I'm going to fall asleep, and there's no way that tomorrow I'd be caught with my pants down. I need to be ready and prepared.
Wow.
So you find yourself being overworked. But I think the most painful one that I carried for a long time is being given work of such value, and that I'll spend time and energy and even money on. And then after I submitted, it goes nowhere.
Wow.
That, for me, really broke me.
And we're talking 2019, 2020. At least I know your career trajectory. You were coming from an HR director role yourself, getting into the space as well. It's I don't know what the English word is, because at that point you expect that as you started, it's about getting results through others. As a leader, you expect that somebody who is grounded, who understands their leadership, should be saying, I've got a gem, and through this gem, I'm going to shine and everybody's going to shine. But she seemed to work against everything that we know about the theory and practice of leadership. How do people become corporate bullies? You're not one, but just from your experience, probably you thought yourself, how did this lady get here? Do you have a sense as to now working with leaders? What do you understand about leaders now? How do people get to that space where they seem not to be happy? And because they are not happy, some people should also not be happy.
So there's a number of I think contributors. I think the first one for me is that hurt people hurt others. That's the first one. The second one, it goes to a personality as well.
Yeah.
You know, the type of a person and the leadership style. I think the essence of bullying sits around the leadership style. And I think that's where the gist is. Firstly, the bullies in the school courtyard have now, they've grown. Now they are in the boardrooms.
Yeah.
So bullies, most of the time, are people that are hurt, and they've never dealt with whatever hurt, So that's that. But also the personality and how you lead people. Now, leadership style can change. As long as you are able to separate, your personality and say, okay, normally I'm a loud person, but really I'll not get results if I'm being loud. So how do I manage that? So you put structure in how you lead people. So yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing that I have seen is the leadership style.
Yeah.
A lot of people think if they break you and they make you afraid, you will be able to produce. Yeah, you will, but a fear-based results.
Yeah.
And in most cases,
and they don't last.
They don't last. You know why? Because I'm not bringing myself into this work. I'm doing what I think you want. So I'm just going to say, for it to be acceptable, it needs to look like this. And then so I struggled with that a lot. And I think that's why the beating never stopped.
Wow. And I would like us to get into yourself, the peers, and you have already mentioned the feminists. You mentioned the whole issue of confidence levels going down, your mood going down. And probably these things now, they affect the quality of the output. Did you find yourself at that point, or you had to bring other means so that you don't necessarily get to that space? And the context of the question is really to somebody who's going through that phase. What are some of the coping mechanisms that they can use to be able not to find themselves at the lowest level? Yeah.
So it's true, it can affect your output, but maybe because my work was the only thing I had, I never let that one go. And because I could see all eyes are on me, so I did everything and anything possible, to deliver.
Yeah.
And I've learned over the years that every HR director needs a thinking partner. So I've always had a thinking partner that I've worked with for many years.
Yeah.
So always when I hit then I go to my thinking partner and said, there's this situation, there's this, and then, then come back with almost like renewed strength.
Yeah.
And then push forward.
Okay. So in that space, obviously, there must be a level of interaction with this person, and you still need to give them work.
Of course.
But then at some point, you should be facing each other and say, hey, this is how you make me feel. And I can just wonder if that conversation were to happen, what will happen? Did you garner the strength to say, Msadi, why? What's a line sharp?
I did, but knowing the type of a person, I did, but using work.
Yes.
Using always, because I didn't want to be very, petty.
Yeah.
So I used work, and I always said, but this is how you make me feel. This is, guess what? The biggest beating came after that.
Because now, in my view, probably she now knows that what I'm doing is getting to you. So
now,
let me add
reinforce,
more. Wow.
Look, I don't know if people are that evil. Sometimes I wonder if it was even intentional, or it's just the way, some people are. So I got the biggest beating.
Wow.
After that,
So the peers, her peers, other executives, did you have somebody that you trusted that you could confide in to say, this is what I'm going through? Okay, really, your peer that side, and maybe my situation will change.
Sure, no. Never. You would not do that. The environment, the whole environment was fear-led.
Toxic.
Very toxic. When you go to Exco to present a paper, you'd feel like you're going to a slaughterhouse. You get there with a paper that's approved by your line manager, and you get there, you present it, and then when everybody at Exco turns against you, your line manager joins them.
Wow. Wow. I personally had been in such an environment, and it was the first time that I worked in a state-owned enterprise. For a short stint of 18 months, I had a project there. And exactly what you're explaining just happened, because there's this culture that has been brewing for a long time. And I found that people who adopt that type of leadership, they recruit similar people. And then it just becomes this pot of mengelmoes that they brew, and then they spew vile on everyone.
On everyone. And the power that comes with that, those people are so powerful. The truth of the matter is, I did go and speak to other people. I spoke to, I'd say a functional lead, from group.
Yeah.
I also spoke to, locally, but from another department.
Yes.
To say, but how do I navigate this? But I quickly realized that no, they are not going to help me.
Okay. And what did you realize?
Because of the power base, I could see that the power belongs in this camp, organization-wide. So, and the camp is not breakable that easy. And at the end of the day, everybody is here to look after their own interests. I realized quickly that, girl, you are on your own.
And this girl could not be on her own forever. There is a point where you make a decision to say, because I always think there are three ways. One is when you get into a situation. One is you become part of them, which is a cop-out if you start there. But you can also start where you say, I'm trying to change the environment. If it does not work, I'm becoming part of them. Or thirdly, you say, no, it's enough. I'm leaving, because this thing has got an impact on my family. You spoke about your husband. And by the way, thanks to him as well for standing up there, because somebody could have chosen to say, hey, don't bring this thing, and then you are clapped this side, you go to work, you are clapped this side. So I think what I'm getting out of what you're saying, without putting words in your mouth, is it helps to have a supportive structure, and especially if it comes in the form of a family member, and in this case, a husband, for you to go through that particular phase. But let's go direct to the question. The question is, at what point did you say, enough is enough? Because we are faced with challenges of money. You've got debts, and then you say, if I leave, then I still have to pay. Yes. And then if I stay, the renka speed. Why happy? Are we happy? You damned if you do, you damned if you don't. Okay? So at what point did you come to that point to say, no, this is enough?
So
I'm leaving.
The first thing is, in 2020, on the day of the lockdown, the day when the lockdown was announced that I found myself at a psychiatrist. So my psychologist pushed for 3 months until he got through me, and I went to see a psychiatrist, and I was put on medication. So that was the first, And then we went on lockdown. And then you'd think if we not, if not seeing each other, the bullying goes down. No, I think in hybrid, it's the biggest challenge. Okay, then I got COVID, very bad COVID stint, and near death actually, both me and my husband. And my husband had comorbidities. I did not have any of them, but I was the one who was sick more. I couldn't even raise my head. And then the GP said, no, after doing analysis, he said, Mabore, your stress levels was so high, your immune system was, so that's why COVID hit you this bad. Without any comorbidities, you were the one that was more sick. Okay, so I'm still trying to, after so many years, with all life's challenges, I've never found myself in a situation where I had to be on medication. Although it was a mood regulator, but, if not well managed, it can, it could have been even worse. Secondly, it was the COVID thing. The day I went back to work after COVID, and if you've ever had COVID, you'd know that the fact that 14 days is over, it doesn't mean that you are fine. Yes. You are actually still very sick. So we had a regulator audit on that day. The first virtual one we had to do at 7:30. Now, for a person recovering from COVID, 7:30 is like a real, it's a tough one. So I woke up, prepared, but I knew I had a team that had prepared because I was on sick leave. So I logged in, and then as I logged in, they said, Mabore is back here, guys. It's my line manager. So Mabore, this is your department, you run with the show. And that's when I knew that this is it.
Wow.
Because there was no sense of even empathy. We are dealing with a sickness that we don't even know. This is the first round. This was a near death for me. And there was not even empathy around, the return to work, considerations.
Even within the 14 days, I guess there was not even, hey, how are you doing?
I don't know. I can't even remember. If it was like mechanical. No, I think a lot of things that were emotions related were highly mechanical. The fact that I've done it.
Yeah. But the fact that you cannot even remember it, for me, it means it was not impactful if it happened. As you say, it was mechanical.
I've had to do work in that 14 days.
Wow.
One or two times.
Wow.
So that already tells you. So I think that's when, after that day, I knew this is it. And I said to myself, what more do you want? Do you want to die here? Yeah. And not because, I think the message I want to convey is that bullies don't say, I don't like Mabore, therefore I'm going to bull Mabore. No, they are bullies. That's who they are. So it's not personal. It's just the way the person live their life. It's just the way the person lead. And it goes back to the concept of personality and, had people, had others.
Yes. Now, you decide to say, on this virtual meeting, this is not it. It's one thing to realize it now, but it's another thing to execute.
Yeah.
How long did you take to finally take your bag and then leave from that moment?
So I don't know, but I think I had a 3 months notice period.
Okay. So you had to live through that period.
So I think I wanted to wait until it was in August. So I wanted to wait until October so that I can, but I couldn't. Okay. I think after that, in the month of August, because I also wanted to get it out of me. Because sometimes I can chicken out at some point.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that there's no opportunity for me to to rationalize it and say, no, maybe let me, So I then communicated that still in the month of August that I am leaving, but I'd like to start to resign from the 1st of October so that I serve my 3 months and notice period until December.
And how did that conversation go? Hey, thank you that you're leaving, or where are you going? We can make this work. How did that conversation go?
So when I joined, we spoke, and I had said, this is a transitionary role for me because I had been an HR director. I'm moving into this role. Obviously, I'm on a path, to another bigger HR director role. And then I was asked, so how long are you giving us? And I said 3 years. So it was an easier one for me. I didn't want to get to the details that I'm leaving because of what. Yes. I just said, we contracted on 3 years. Now it's 3 years. I'm leaving.
Wow. Now somebody could be sitting there and saying, now there's no other person who will make me go and leave the environment. I'll leave the day I want to leave. It could be a cop-out that Mabore took. What would you say to such a person?
Sure. I guess we're not the same. People are different, and I acknowledge that. But I don't think people should die at work. Because even if you are staying there and saying, no one will make me leave, the fact of the matter is, it is eating you up.
Unless and not only you.
Yeah. Unless you are not on medication and you're finding a way of dealing with it. I don't know how, but if you can handle it, then yes. But if it affects you, it affects the quality of your life. It affects your family life. Take Sunday afternoons were the most terrible because your body is like already preparing for the beating to say the fun is over. So the anxiety, you can already feel your stomach. And I mean, someone can say, but Mabore, we know you to be very a strong character. Anything that happens repetitively, your body starts taking it somehow, and you accept the fact that I was there and it was happening. It means I was accepting it. So subconsciously, the body, just absorbed it and started feeling like it's true. That's why you will lose confidence. So I think if you can handle it, fine. I used to have anxiety attacks before I sleep. Just that time when you're dozing off, but you're not yet asleep. Every day, I'll get this anxiety attack. And then one day, my husband said, I worry about you because sometimes I wonder if you will wake up in the morning. If you're not yet there, maybe you can, stick it out. But if it's getting to affect your life, no job is worth your life.
Wow. No, that's so powerful.
Don't die there.
That's so powerful. Let's step back, and now you have been working in the leadership development space, and you now experience this personally. What is it that, in your view, organizations can do? And I'm not sure that you play in that space now. What is it that you can do to assist, if you can, to build maybe coping mechanisms, or even organizations to change the culture of not bringing this type? Because for some reason, it seems like some organizations, they thrive on this type of personality.
Yeah, no, I am in that space, Tex. I am currently writing a book. I know I've been writing this book since. And it's something that when I went through that experience, that I thought, we talk so much about, bullying in the workplace, but we've never taken time to understand, it's very theoretic. So I'm writing a book. I've got 10 stories. So it's almost like a storytelling.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got 10 stories in the book that focuses on different types of bullying so that people can read it and understand. And it's meant to change behavior. Because if I'm a bully and I read this book, I can almost see myself.
Yeah.
And then obviously then what follows is how are we going to help navigate the space? And how are we going to help organization change? And in my view, honestly, there are a number of things, but I think the most important is how do we, do we understand the type of organization that we are in? We all know that the fact that we've got this kind of hierarchical structure and that comes with command and control comes from the second industrial revolution with the army, and then organization emulated what the army was doing. Although a lot of work has happened, to transform that, but it's still entrenched in, if you want results, this is how you must lead. So we help organization from a leadership development point of view to say this is the the prevailing culture. There's no trust, because trust is at the center of everything.
Yes.
And then from there we help organization create psychological safety. Because if without psychological safety, then that's when the toxicity festers and goes on. But also the individuals, if you have been bullied, what is it that you need to do? So the book really focuses more on the bully and the bullied.
Yes.
Because we still need to help the bully. We're not looking at it from a negative point of view. We're looking at how do we make sure that we help both from an organizational point of view. We help both the leader and the person that's been bullied, or the bully versus the person that's been bullied. So those are some of the things, and there's a number of things that individuals can do. So from a coaching point of view as well, we help them, especially with coaching, and then when we coach, especially people that have been bullied, we can identify, at what point, where are we, and if from a mental health, we now need other interventions. Then we recommend for those interventions to help them stabilize. But I don't think it's a space that we need to ignore. It's a space that organization needs to pay a lot of attention. I am currently in consulting. I consult with a number of organizations. I can see it. It's very rife even now.
Yes. I think it's rife to a point where in some instances people want to make it part of the normal. And it's wrong. I mean, in my view, leadership is all about building. It's about nurturing. It's about leaving the place better than you found it. But if your object of leadership is to put people down, then definitely you are not a leader, And I'm thankful of the role that you are now playing in trying to share your story, but also now try to impact other people going forward so that they can have the right coping mechanisms. But then in terms of your solution, and thanks that you mentioned coaching, what I just wanted to ask, and I'm asking for somebody that is bullied, would you say, based on your experience and the work that you are doing now, would it be advisable to take the bully head on?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I think when you do that, you're almost like a bully yourself. So I'd say if your organization has a structured process of dealing with bullies, of which a lot of leading organizations do these days, so you must report it, but then you must be willing to go through the process, because it's almost like this thing of reporting bullying. It's almost like in the olden days when women used to report, the rape victims used to report rape. You end up being the one on trial.
Yes.
So it's almost playing itself like that as well. So you go and report, you have to prove. What do you mean it's been bullying? And it says it must be repetitive. So it's important that you record, all this, whatever that is happening. So the onus is still on you, as an employee. And I know that a lot of organizations, they will go through a process where they will, document and maybe even discipline if there's a need to discipline. And then they leave it there.
Yeah.
But the effect of the bullying continues. Actually, the person that was bullied who reported might end up, being victimized, not by the line manager, but by other people. Reporter.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's not strong enough to stand for, herself, and now she goes, so there's a lot of things that could happen in that space. So I do think that while there's structured process to report, but then after that, how do we support? Because the impact is huge.
Yeah, true. Right?
The impact is huge.
It's mental, it's emotional, it's also financial.
It's also financially, because at the time when I went for therapy, the medical aid structure that we were on was not a very luxurious medical aid. I had to pay for 8 months. And I went for therapy on a weekly basis. And when I went through the EAP program, because a lot of us, you'd probably be saying, Parental EAP, the psychologist told me, I am on the supplier database, the EAP, Mabore, but no, I'm not going to do it because what I get paid, it's very minimal. So I decided it is my life. And I could afford to pay. But imagine in a case where somebody couldn't afford to pay for 9 months of therapy or 10 months of therapy, because I think even after I've resigned, I wanted to make sure that, that whole transition, I still get support throughout the transition.
Wow. But like I said, thank you for not letting it down and going into the organizations and, like we say, one person at a time. We might not, as you say, the bullies are who they are, and I was even tempted to think, are some narcissists, are some psychopaths in that process? And they could possibly be, and it will be difficult to really get to the nut of it until the person themselves and the organizations themselves say, not in our name, we are not going to tolerate this type of behavior. Is there anything that I might not have asked, you might not have shared, that you think maybe is valuable in understanding this whole thing of bullying that you might want to leave the viewer with?
Sure, I think we've said a mouthful. The only thing I want to say, maybe it's also echoing in the beginning. You said something about putting yourself first. Especially to people that are being bullied. Your emotions, your feelings are real. What you're feeling right now about that situation is real. Don't ignore it. Because that's the only way that your body can communicate back to you to say, I am not okay. This thing is affecting me. Takes me now, it got to a point where if I had to talk, I don't stutter. But the way my confidence level was so low, I would, before I start talking, I would stutter. And I would stutter throughout my conversation, because I'm also conscious about how I'm coming across, what I'm saying. There's a lot of things. Until I realized that, no, I have to take my life back. So put yourself first. Whatever you do, I'm not saying leave your job. Whatever you do, go and report. Speak to someone. Get therapy, And my psychologist used to say, but Mabore, I feel like because you come here, we work, you go back to the environment, and then you come back. So, but do something about it. Don't live it. I've seen people whose career were destroyed because they tried to stick it out, because it affects your confidence, then it starts affecting your output, and then you are fired for non-performance, and then you can't get a job anywhere else.
It becomes this vicious circle.
So put yourself first. What you're feeling is valid.
And really, I thank you for giving us time to share your story and all the nuggets that you have dropped. Those who've got ears to listen will listen.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know, before I close, one other thing that you mentioned, and it just crossed my mind, is the fact that you're saying you're going to see someone, you have to pay. And in most cases, bullies don't even go for their own help, you know. So they create this stream of debt for you,
Yes.
you know. But at the end of the day, it's about you.
It's about
Hence, you
you.
have to step out
Yeah.
and then get help for yourself.
Mm.
Workplaces are not necessarily the nicest of places to be at. And we are not talking in generic terms. It all depends on the leaders of that organization and the type of culture that they need. And even if the leaders of the organization are looking for a culture where everyone belongs, there will always be that odd person that wants things to be done their way. And the message really that I'm getting out of this conversation is that when that happens to you, don't beat yourself down. It is not about you. It is about the other person. And it might sound cliche, but the reality is it's about the next person. So in that process, if that happens to you, take care of yourself, as Mabore has said. Prioritize yourself and use all the other mechanisms that your organization is providing you. Being the opportunity to go and sit down with the person, being the opportunity to go and sit down with the peers, using the employee assistance program if you have. But ultimately, out of all these platforms that we have, you've got yourself to turn things around. Until the next episode, we thank you.